Now, there was another insight on boards, is that companies went to $1 billion. Actually, when boards were dominated, whether private or public, with management team members and investors, they tended to be associated with companies that struggled in the long term. But boards that were complemented with customers, alliance partners, and an executive who's been to $1 billion, as Howard Schultz was on the board of eBay, and Tom Stenberg, the founder and former chairman of Staples, still on the board of PetSmart, and Joe had dinner with him the other day. You had a CEO who really coached you through the up and down cycles. So as you're thinking about your questions for our panel on how they did this and their insights, any of you have any long-term investors on the board who've done it before?
A board can be very valuable. A board has to have no fear about challenging management. So you really want to make sure you bring on somebody. If you're insecure, you're going to have a real tough time running a company the way you need to run it. You need to develop confidence in yourself and be willing to stand up for your ideas. But sometimes you learn that the ideas of those board members are a lot more important than yours, and they have more experience in some of these efforts. So my methodology from even before the time we went public was to hire CEOs from other brokerage firms that were no longer CEOs, and I used to jokingly tell them, but I was really quite serious, that we were putting them on the board so that we would avoid the mistakes that they'd already experienced. And we've had a host of people. The president of Payne Weber was on our board. Frank Zarb, the past head of Department of Energy and head of Smith Barney, was on our board. He's had many more experiences since. There was Rotan Mosley, CEO, was on our board. John Bulkley was the head of Mosley Hargarden. And we brought those people in. I only keep them for 10 years. We have a 10-year term. And the reason is not that they're stale after 10 years, because some of them are great. But you really need to have these new ideas, and you need to have these people who will challenge you. And I always had an academic on the board. I have great diversity on my board. I actually have 2 women CEOs on my board. I like CEOs on our board. They're very helpful. The contacts you make, the relationships, if you can just pick up the phone and call those people as advisors, I mean, you get great value. So the board, having a strong board that challenges you is the most important thing you can do, I think, in terms of your own direction of the company.
Dom, I see you shaking your head.
I resonate with 3 points that brought up. One is bring people on that have done it before, at least some of them. Second is the diversity. I think on my board I have probably 3 profiles: people who have done it before, who have CEO perspective, people who have a very, very strong financial background to make sure that we don't get into trouble in these days, and people who really have the go-to-market, the customer perspective. And those people tend also to be the people who do partnerships very well. And then finally, the one really, really true thing is I find that fundamentally with all that asset, the limitation is the CEOs. If you are insecure, if you really don't put forth all your problems on the table and look at the board as really the advisors to
help you solve your boulder.
Yeah, rather than just some CEOs just like to go and please them and hide some problem. Then you might as well not have a board. Right?